Dear viewers, thank you for joining us once again. My name is Ahmed Hussein. I'm bringing you this interview together with all the crew with political or gubernatorial aspirant Dr. Syed Abdullahi. You know, the political season is underway. The elections are just 4 months away, and so many candidates, aspiring candidates, have rather fronted their aspirations to go for different posts. One of the people who most of the people have been talking about is the US-based businessman Dr. Syed Abdullahi, who is here with me today. Dr. Syed, thank you for joining us. We just get straight into this interview. We know that it's been a busy schedule for you for a long time. So first of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity. Directly, you have been based in Minnesota or United States for close to 20 years. And this time around, you decided to come home. You have been away from the masses. You decided to come home and, you know, put yourself in the political context and go for the biggest seat in the county. What has motivated you?
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak, Ahmed, to you and to your viewers.
Thank you.
And Ramadan Mubarak to our community back in Wajir. And Jum'ah Mubarak as well. It's Fridays in Ramadan are for us a very special day. So I want to wish all our folks both back home in Wajir and those in Nairobi a wonderful Jum'ah, inshallah. It is also a time to be generous, to remember those of us who are less fortunate. I encourage all of us to do as much sadaqah as we can, especially those who are most needy. It is important that we remember, most of us, that our county, a large proportion of the county lives in abject poverty. Not just poverty, but people who live probably on less than even 1,000 shillings a day as an income. So I want to really urge, especially those of us who have been blessed to have jobs, who have been blessed to have a sense of livelihood, to remember those of us who may not even have iftar during Ramadan. So that's that. But thank you very much for your question. I think people know that I have been very active in Wajir even before I joined politics. Those who know me closely know that I have always had one leg in Kenya and one leg in the diaspora. I'm not really new to the political scene. I've been an organizer. I've been someone who's been involved in the presidential race in Kenya since 2002. In fact, 2002, 2007, and 2013, but particularly in 2007. I was probably the most prominent Kenyan organizer in the diaspora in 2007. So I've been, I was a founder of a group called Raila 07 that later on became an ODM outfit in the diaspora. I have also been an individual who's been almost an unofficial diplomat for Kenya. Everybody who's a Kenyan of any means or any governmental function, from diplomats to cabinet secretaries to PSS, who've anyone interacted with the US, know about my work in the diaspora. I've been able to really tremendously bring a good name for Kenya in terms of foreign investment, in terms of relationships with the US, in terms of relationships with the State Department, in terms of highlighting Kenya as an investment destination, as a tourist destination. I've worked very closely with the Kenyan embassy in the US, the Kenyan mission in New York. I've been very active, particularly during Raila Odinga's Prime Minister tenure. So that's that. So I'm not really, a lot of people in the political governmental universe know who I am, right? Now, in terms of coming back to Wajir, Wajir is home for me. And if I was to get back into public service, the decision really came down to, this is going to take a lot of time away from me, away from my family, away from my private sector. I'm someone who's already been a CEO, has been successful in the healthcare universe and in the business community. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to sacrifice, then where else is best to sacrifice than where my people are? Because at the end of the day, this is about adding value to people's lives. If I'm going to do it, I wanted to do it in a place where whatever I do, and you can see since I joined politics, I've changed even the narrative of how people conduct politics in Wajir. So I thought this is the place where I'm most needed. This is the place where I can have the most impact. If I give, inshallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants me, and if I have another 20 years or 30 years in service, this is the place that I can have a significant footprint. If I do this in another place that's already successful, people don't really need me. Most people in America don't need me. They're already successful. They have a government that has been there for 400, 300 plus years. That's, anybody could be put in that box, and they're just going to be fine. That's not the case in Wajir. We've already seen what malfeasance and a bad government can do to our people. We're talking about lack of basic needs, lack of water, lack of safety, lack of food, it's a life and death issue in Wajir. Getting Wajir right is really a life and death issue. You can't say that in most other places in the world, right? Particularly where I lived. It's already an established society. Whether I joined there or not, it doesn't make a difference to majority of the people. So that's really what made me make the decision in the end to come back and do this in Wajir. I have a lot that I can contribute, not just even to county government, but advocating for Wajirians at the national level. If I was an effective governor, I can use that as a bully pulpit to advocate for Wajir even as a county, even at the national level. So inshallah, that's why I came and that's why I made this decision. But also I have been very active. I just didn't come back. Most diasporians come back and run. I have been involved in Kenya since, as I said, since 2002, but especially since 2019, I've actually lived here. And I'm in Nairobi, I'm in Wajir. In fact, I have spent more time in Wajir than most of my competitors in the governor's race. Even those who've lived here longer than me, I've been down on the ground in Wajir longer since 2019. If you look at the number of days I've spent in Wajir, it's more than what most of the other guys have spent.
Thank you. And so, you know that the politics of Northeastern, you very well know, it's all clanism, it's all about negotiated democracy, yes. Communities endorsing their own candidates, like their own family, yes. On the ground. So, don't you see there's such a challenge, yes. that you are able to come and, you know, win votes with all these challenges, yes. of the communities, yes. who have been endorsed, especially mostly your community, and after the Dogodia community, the minimal community, they live in Wajir West. Yes. They are also a competitor of yours. Yes. Ahmed Abdullahi is also from that Wajir West sector. Yes. Do you think this will affect your campaigns, or do you have?
MashaAllah, it's a very good question. You know, everything good that's worth trying is challenging. Nothing is easy. And actually, the governor's race is difficult for everyone involved in this race. None of us from the get-go has any better math than any of the 6 or 7. I think there's about 7 of us, 6 or 7 of us running for governor right now in Wajir County.
Yes.
Every one of us has his own unique challenges. At the end of the day, we have about 220,000 registered voters. I believe we have. In the last election, the winner got 49,000. Let's just call it 50,000 votes. It's what in most parts of the country that gets you an MCA. In Nairobi, 50,000 votes is not of much. You know, you need in Nairobi you need 1 million votes to win. So when I look at people like Ngatia's and Kagure's situation, mine pales in comparison, right? It's nothing. I need just 50,000. Like when I talk to other governors across the county, across the country, they go, see, you have an easy, you just need 50,000 votes. So I look at it from that perspective. I don't run to the clan issue first. I just look at how many votes do we need? That I'm just pragmatic at the 360 level. How many votes do we need? 50,000. Okay, you have 6 sub-counties. You have 6 constituencies. Let's put the clan thing for a second, because I think the problem is we've always looked at this from the same prism. We're doing that because the ones before us have done that. Sometimes that's very dangerous, because that means you're blocking your innovation. You're completely looking at this from how the others in the past have done it. So in 2013, we had 3 gubernatorial candidates, 3 serious ones. I think we had Mohammed Abdul Mahmoud in 13, Ahmed Abdullahi, and we had Mohammed Ali from the Dogodia community in 2013. And Ahmed Abdullahi was able to win, even though from a sub-clan perspective within the Dogodia, he has the same matrix, he has the same mathematics. His sub-clan within the Dogodia is actually less votes than mine. So people forget that this actually was done. Someone who has less votes from his sub-clan than me actually won in 2013, even though there was a Dogodia conference and there was a Dogodia endorsement. But Mohammed Abdi Mahmoud, even though he's from a different sub-clan, his sub-clan gave almost 10,000 votes to Ahmed Abdullahi. That's another factor that I'm looking at within the Dogodia context. The Dogodia votes are transferable across the clan. So the fact that I have 4,000 votes in the minimal community means nothing. There's still 120,000 votes the Dogodias have. And if you look at the county right now, and you go to places like Hadado in Aldas, I'm a household name. You go to the Jibrail community, they're not saying Siyad is minimal. It's not a factor. If you go to the south and you go to the Muhammad Suwar community, Maqabul community, you go to the Bahgari community, I'm already a household name. I have a lot of support among the Bahgari and Maqabul and Muhammad Suwar and even Gari Kombe. And that's really just the reality of Wajir, because I've been able to appeal to them about pocketbook issues. When you talk about drought, and people know the drought does not discriminate whether you're Bahgari or Maqabul or Muhammad Suwar, it's affecting every Wajirian. You know, even if you look at the Fai community right now, people are saying, okay, they might have a governor. Their life is not that different from the rest of Wajirians. The people who are suffering in abject poverty are people in Tarbaj and even in Wajir East. So for me, I'm looking at what is the reality of getting 50,000 votes or 60,000 votes. When my campaign looks at that reality, we believe this is a winnable seat. I don't look at what the people have looked at it from the past. People have looked at this from a clan segmentation. And let's speak about negotiated democracy for a minute. It's this time, I think that train, I think that issue is a path for the Dogodia community. And then as the Senate either went to Ogaden or Ajuran, and then the deputy governor was the same. So in 13, we had an Ajuran taking a deputy, and Senator Olo being the senator in 13 from the Ogaden community. In 17, the winning ticket, again, was Deputy Governor Mukhtar getting the Deputy Governor seat, and Senator Dr. Kabareta getting the Senate seat, and Mukhtar getting the Deputy Governor seat. Now we have an Ajuran individual running for governor and an Ogaden individual running for governor. So what is negotiated anymore? There's really no negotiating anymore. Yeah. Look, so now it's completely a mumbo jumbo. The winning ticket might have an Ogaden on top of it, might have an Ajuran on top of it, might have someone who is Dogodia on top of it. It could even be an all Ogaden ticket, or it could be an all Ajuran ticket, or it could be even an all Dogodia ticket. Because if you have 7 people running, the winning number might be 35,000 or 40,000, right? Yes. So whoever has the best team and the best campaign and the best grassroots movement wins the seat. Really, that's the reality we're looking at. So I want Wajirians to really put this whole negotiated thing, because it's a facade. It's not a reality. What are we negotiating? When did these 3 communities really have a clan conference and share the seats? It hasn't happened. Not. Even in 13 and 17, it was political elites in Nairobi who brought up a ticket together. In 17, there was half of the Dogodias were trying to get Ahmed Abdullahi out of office, more than half of them, of the elites. There was a fundraising in Nairobi that raised 220 million to get Ahmed Abdullahi out of office. So the dichotomy of Dogodia, Ogaden, Ajuran does not exist. It only exists in the minds of the political elites. The local Wajirians look at what's happening with their government. They have no water, they have no power, they have no sewer, and they have no jobs. This is their reality. And when I talk to people, I want them to forget about the Nairobi elites. This whole clan segmentation has not worked for them. So in the end, I want a good government that every Wajirian can see. These guys came, they changed the narrative. And now we have a better life, at least for 5 years. At least show them that things will get better for them. Inshallah, that's what my hope is. I'm not too worried about the numbers. Because as I said, in 13, an individual with less votes in his sub-clan than me won. In 17, an individual who's an incumbent lost. Again, the reality is, if you have a good team and you have a good strategy and you have funding, I think at the end of the day also, money probably is even more important than clan in this political process. If we can do that, if we can have a war chest of funding, if we can get a good team, and if we can get at least all the 3 major clans within your ticket, irrespective of what positions people are in, and you're inclusive, and you have a unifying narrative, which is what my campaign has always been, I think we can win this seat, inshallah.
Fair enough, that was a very well answered. And now coming from the last part, which you said, if you have a good strategy and a good team, let me come to the good team. We've seen some of your competitors have already come up with lineups.
Yes.
Where there's a gubernatorial aspirant,
yes.
There is a women representative aspirant,
yes.
There's a candidate for senator,
yes.
and a deputy governor.
Yes.
So up to now, people are wondering what's going on your side. Are you sailing over individually and saying, I know you are in Azimio party with Wiper, but there will be 2 governors probably from, actually 3 governors from the Azimio as it stands for as of now. So what can you tell people who are asking that question?
MashaAllah, I think it's a bit early. First of all, we have Ramadan, which is a bit disrupted in our political timeline. Most of us are Muslims, and we are trying to observe, to have a bit of a conservative month and not indulge too much in politics. With that said, I want to reassure my supporters that they will be very pleased with what we do in the end. We want to be very careful in how we make this decision, because it's actually a determining factor in whether you win or not. If you look at what has happened, only 2 teams, only 2 candidates have mentioned their lineup. I think it is the briefly former governor, who is now in UDA. I actually thank him for leaving Kano, because he has left Oka. I'm the only Oka candidate in the race, so I appreciate Ahmed. I should host him for iftar, because he has done me a good favor for going to UDA. I wish him well at UDA. So now I have Wiper and UDP and Kanu both, propelling my candidacy, because we want to bring in MPs also from those parties. As speaking of Azimio, of course there will be a Jubilee candidate, probably announced in the next few days. We're hoping to find out who that is, because that also affects our campaign. This thing is it's a very interconnected process. Actions taken by one group affects generally the other, because we have the same voter basis, right? And then of course there will be an ODM candidate. We're expecting that. So once our competitors have been framed, because right now we don't even know who our actual competitors might be. I want to be careful in how I name a deputy and a senator, because the intricacies of who is in Jubilee affects my decisions. So that's why we've taken our time. We want to be very meticulous, we want to be very strategic, and we want to be very intentional. We are talking to people, several individuals from Wajir North and Wajir South. We are carefully trying to map up. Our structure is to get 60,000 votes together. So we want to see who has the best contributing margin, so to speak, and then also who can be the best person in that job. Because I'm thinking about two things. Some people are just thinking about winning. I'm thinking also about governing. So you need to look at the chemistry of who you're going to be working with. You want to have a deputy governor who you can work with for 5 years, at least. You want to have a senator who can be acting in the best interest of Wajirians for 5 years. And two things you said that I want to end with. It's a possibility that I actually don't pick at least one or two things in this lineup. I know this will be breaking news for many people, because I also want to do things different from what has been done before. Doing things just because they were done before doesn't mean they're right. This is one big mistake people make in politics. Because people pick lineups just for lineup's sake. If you look at Muhammad Abdi Mahmoud's candidacy, his deputy contributed less than 5,000 votes to his ticket.
Yes.
So if the issue was winning, what was the real value contribution of that ticket? So we have to look at how you can work together with an individual. Is this individual going to be acting in the best interest? A deputy represents the governor in that ticket, and he needs to have a functional capacity to represent you, and even a docket to manage. So I want to pick someone who I can work with, someone who I can be proud of as a deputy governor, someone who can contribute meaningfully to the county. Same with the Senate. But there are so many Wajirians running for Senate right now. There's a possibility that I actually leave that slot. It is a serious possibility. I'm considering that. Why? Because if there's 3, 4, 5 people running for Senate, all their voters are my voters. Same thing with the women rep position. People just pick things because it's been done before. There are about 11 or so Wajirians running for women rep. I know at least most of them. I have voters in their in their tickets. I know there's 2, 3 ladies running from Wajir South. A lot of people who are voting for them want to vote for me. When I pick one out of 11, strategically, it's actually a disincentive. So we're looking at the reality to say, because of Azimio, party affiliation is much less of a value, because we're all within Azimio, as long as I'm not supporting a UDA member. So if somebody is in on NAC Kenya ticket, for example, a lot of Suli's voters are likely to vote for me. A lot of Halima Ali Shina's voters are likely to vote for me. A lot of Barre's voters are likely to vote for me. A lot of Anisa's voters are likely to vote for me. At least some of Fatima Gatti's voters, and even the 2 other sisters who are running from Wajir South, I think there's about 3 or 4 of them, are like at least 20 to 30% of them might vote for me. So my campaign is looking very carefully at why we should pick one. That's the questions we're dealing with. And I know I'm giving too much free political consultancy advice to my competitors. And that's okay, because we're on television. But I want to be careful in what we do, because each one of those ladies have a value contribution. And by the way, I don't have a problem with them. If the women rep comes from Wajir South, I have no problem with that. If she comes from Wajir North, I have no problem with that. If it's one of the 6, 7 Wajir ladies, women who are running, I have no problem with that. But what I want to make sure is they have a process in which it's fair, in which they all have a chance to win, in which if I can be of help to any of them, I want to help them. I'm taking calls from all of them, irrespective of what party they are from. I've been able to advise counsel to them. And I want to continue doing that, because at the end of the day, if I win, I'm going to be the governor for everyone in Wajir. I want to be able to walk free in Wajir South. I want to be welcomed in Shantabak and Habaswein and most local. If I want to be able to go to Butte and Buna, I want to be able to go to every part of the county. I want people to say, you know what, I may not have voted for Siad, but I'm actually very proud that he's my governor. I have access to his office. He's not saying I'm a Juran or I'm Mogadin, that this individual is accessible. Because part of the problem with our politicians is that they're not accessible. They win and then they go back on the 5th year, to campaign again. We have to change this narrative. Because at the end of the day, our people are suffering. Many of our youth are unemployed, irrespective of what clan they come from. They don't even have, we used to talk about political godfathers. A Wajir governor in Nairobi should be an ombudsman for all Wajirians, irrespective of what clan they come from. We should be a patron for the University Students Association. We should be able to have iftar with them. We should be able to contribute to them, to their funerals if one passes, irrespective of what clan they come from. That's the Wajir I know from 20 and 30 years ago. This devolution thing has brought a lot of poison in the political narrative because of this Qabil and this whole sub-clan thing. I hope to change that if given the opportunity, inshallah.
Thank you. Just to come to the last part of your answer, there's a part which you said you could go solo,
yes,
so that you could be a friend to everyone. But then at the same time, the way you touched on,
yes,
when you don't have an alliance with a certain community, when you go and seek their votes,
yes,
they will tell you what do you have for us in return. So
yes.
how will you crack that,
Yes.
That side? Because what strategy do you have? Because if you go solo, there's advantages, disadvantages.
Yes,
so
yes.
What do you think? Does it weigh?
So you can never have all the clans and sub-clans in Wajir represented in a lineup. That's not realistic, right? So everyone will have if you, for example, you pick a Maqabul deputy, you don't have a Mohammed Sura in your lineup. It's just the reality. Well, the first conversation to every Wajirian should be, you will have a better government. You will have a better government. That's one. Things will actually get better for you, irrespective of what clan I am. Because as the governor, the buck stops with me. I'm the final decision maker of the affairs of the county, together with the assembly. The second value, the value proposition that I want to drill into the minds of Wajirians, and maybe I should do this in Somali someday, because many of them may not be understanding what we are saying, is this lineup, there's only 3 or 4 positions you can pick. We want to be inclusive, but we can't be 100% inclusive. So everyone is taking risks in one way or another. What they need to know is there's also a county government. There's so many positions in the county government. So let's say I don't pick one of the sub-clans from Wajir South in a lineup. My conversation with the elders is about how my government will be able to engage them and include them in the county government. Because there will be PS positions, there will be cabinet positions, there will be chief of staff, there will be things like CS finance. It's as powerful, more powerful than a deputy governor, for instance. This is what I want to talk to those communities with. I want them to know that they'll be represented in my office. In fact, someone like my chief of staff is very likely to be from Wajir North or Wajir South, because I want to be that inclusive, so that my office, everyone will have access to that office. So that's basically, I have a lot of tools in my toolkit, besides just a deputy governor, right? These cabinet positions, and the other thing is to engage the elders in a straightforward manner, so that they get to see my character. I'm someone who's grown up in a multi-ethnic, multi-clan community. I've never looked at the issue of Qabil as an issue of identification beyond just the Abtir. It's really in the Garissa and the Wajir and the Mandera I know in the past, in the 80s and even the 90s, nobody really cared about this thing too much. The well has been poisoned in the last 15 years. I want to take us back, really. If there's one thing I want to reverse, it's this political clan complex. And I do that by telling them, anigo badugodiye ayaa laga yaabaa qof ogaadeen inaan kaaga ronaado. Anigo dugodiye ayaa laga yaabaa qofka ajuuraan inaan qof ajuuraan oga ronaado. Because I will look at this as my responsibility. Asagaaba qofkaas ayaan iska sii ilaalina xaqiisi. Qofkan waxaa laga yaabaa in lagu xamani qabiil ahaan inuu ixigo. You get it? Because dhaqankii hore Soomaaliyeed saas buu ahaan jiray. Qofka habeenka yar fog ayaad soo dhaweysan jirtay. Safa ADC aad siga ilaalisid. waxaan oo la leeyahay maaragtay qof walbaba winner take all. waxaasna marka la sii fiiriyo run ahaantii run ma ahaba, because maanta hadii la dhiilaa fay kali ayaa wajar ku ladan, then qabiilku war ku ordi lahayn. But it hasn't worked. The Fai community is suffering within the Dogodia constituency as much as them having a governor. Most Fai people, their life has not changed because of Muhammad Abdi being a governor. Most of even Mu'u or Matan people, their life has not changed because Ahmed Abdullahi was a governor. So again, the governor has political elites surrounding them of all clans. So the thing Wajir people should be worried about is elitism, not Qabilism. Elitism is the problem, not Qabilism. Dad yar oo xulufe oo qabiilaha dhanka wada soxdo ayaa wixii wada qaatay. Ogaadeen baa ku jiro, ajuraan baa ku jiro, dawadiyaa ku jiro. Waa xulufe is wada tabadi oo wada saaxiibe oo Lavington ay ku wada dhuumanaya meelo waaweyn ilmoodana private school ay wada dhigtaan. waxaan qabiil ma aha qabiilka ticket buu iska noqday inuu dadka lagu tafaraq lagu dhax keeno dawladdan waa dawlad horta la heli karo inay noqoto a government in which the governor is accessible that the deputy governor is respected he has his job and the CSs you know and the chief officers do their jobs the MCAs are respected and included because you have an assembly the governor has to work with the assembly and then I also want to work very well with the 6 members of parliament they are a major stakeholder. They represent a constituency. Many of them, their constituencies also represents a sub-clan or a community they come from. I want to engage the members of parliament. I want to respect them. I want to work with them. So I look forward to engage many of these individuals who are running for MP. And I want to be able to, inshallah, I hope we elect good MPs that would work with the governor in a very cohesive, friendly manner. Not issue of just fighting over money. You know, while fighting over 10 billion, we lose maybe 70 billion that could have been leveraged if we work together. Yes. There's donor money, there's IMF World Bank projects we can get, there's a lot of UN funding the county can get. Wajir has not benefited because everyone is looking as a myopic. On national government, we lost the bigger picture. So instead of increasing the pie and getting 70 billion, they are fighting over 10 billion. And it's almost like fighting over a dead carcass. And then that's a very narrow, myopic picture that I want to change. waxaan waa inaan badina wixii la keen lahaa meelahan waa in la dhiso waa habaasweyn oo dhisantay you know eelaaso sii dhisantay tarbajo dhisantay in la raadiyo lag boqol oo dhisantay you know meelaha magaalooyin kulli wada wada dhismaan you know hadhaadho oo dhisantay oo magaalo noqotay oo dadka imaartay shaqooyin yar helaan this is really what I want to change the narrative with if we do that I think in 2027 whoever is running if I run for you know if I win first and if I run for second term or even if I don't I think the people running in 27 I want to pave a path for them so that sheekada qabiilka la yareeyo oo la dhawr qof alla qofka reeyo jeer rabaan had doortaan sheekada qabiilka waa aan joojino because hebel bacdir buu ka dhashay wuxuu qabta fiiriya illa dhahan raba insha Allah
so my next question actually emanates from what you said once more sorry, I have to ask you this question because, you know, this is an opportunity for you to tell the people of Wajir and let them know what is right and what's not right. You said you're going to work with all the politicians very, very well. But then in Wajir, the people are called cartels. The people who are believed to have disrupted the county governments, to try to, you know, blackmail the governors. They are said like these are the people who usually bring the governor, the people who are going to contest, and so they're going to work on their own interest. And people have been asking themselves, at times these questions have all been posed, almost some of the aspirants or some of the candidates for gubernatorial position in the county. So people have been saying, is this person is he for this reason? Like, is he getting backing from the cartels or something? So can you clarify with all the due respect?
MashaAllah, no problem. In my opinion, I think this is a creation. People like to label people. Every politician, irrespective of where you are in the world, whether you're in the US or you're in Russia or you're in Rwanda or even Kenya, any country, once you're in politics, politics is about influence. As I said I had an NTV interview the other day about crowds, and I talked about this political economic complex in which money is almost the most relevant thing in politics. Everyone is propelled by someone. Everyone needs supporters. I think this issue has been hyped too much. I don't like labeling people. I don't believe there are any cartels in Wajir. This is my opinion. Now, I think there have been members of parliament who have been very influential, whether for the good or for the bad in the county. Some of these individuals who have started this label were actually propelled by these members of parliament. If you go back in 13 and in 17, These individuals, these two governors who have been elected, both had major backing from these same individuals who are being labeled. It's good to really go back to the genesis of this matter. They had a fallout. We were not in the boardrooms why they had a fallout. Everyone is presenting one picture. I believe if the MPs are cartels, the governors are cartels too. We have to be realistic about this issue because it takes two to tango. They had a deal, the deal didn't work out. Yeah. So now they're trying to put this in the public foray and everyone is trying to put their spin. The governors want to put a spin that the MPs are cartels, the MPs are trying to put a spin, the governors are the cartels. Somali waxay tiri labadii sir ku heshiisay. Caadiyal bay ku culowda. Raggan waxay isu ku heshiiyeen ma ogin. Fadeexadii baa lagu diraya marka. If you look at the deputy governor, our brother Ahmed Mukhtar becoming a governor for a brief moment, it was also propelled by the same individuals. Even Qabil is a fallacy because the people who removed Mohamed Abdi Mahmoud were the Wadiyas. Yeah. So Qabil kana run lagama sheegayo because meesha Qabil kama jirin. Waxa ka jirta interest. Group yaro interest leh oo isku interest ah ayaa starting kina governor soo gelisay 17 kina governor soo gelisay governing saartay Soomaa wixii dhan marka la fiiriyo. As an MP in a small county like Wajir, when you have 6 members of parliament, some of them will be very influential and some of them will step into the governor's context. It's up to the governor to have the gravitas, the experience, to be able to push back when needed and welcome it when it's needed. If you work with them collegially and you have a problem with them, you know, at the end of the day, you can go to Wajirians and tell them. Because at the end of the day, the real boss is actually the voters. So my hope is first I get a working relationship. We don't have to be best friends, but we need to have a collegial working relationship with every member of parliament. Wajir South, Wajir North, Tarbaj, Wajir East, Wajir West, right? And am I forgetting any constituencies? I think I've covered them, 6 of them. All the 6 of them, I want them to have access to my office. They do have a right to consult with me if there's projects in their constituency. I still have to make it clear that I'm the chief executive of the county. But this issue of cartel and this issue of people being removed and people being brought in, we have to mention both sides of the coin. They also brought in these governors. If they also led to their downfall, it is politics. I'm not going to cry if I'm removed. I need to have the gravitas to manage this process. The other thing is the people who vote to impeach are the MCAs. You have 30 MCAs. As a governor, you need to build a relationship with your MCAs. I believe if you have a good working relationship with your MCAs, the MP's influence are lessened. Because the MP doesn't have a voting power to impeach you. It is the MCAs that starts the process for impeachment. And then, of course, it has to go to the Senate at the national level. But the genesis of this issue is someone loses sight of their job. Someone has a serious rift. And you know, some of our members of parliament have been there for a very long time. When you're a member of parliament for 20 plus years, you're going to be very influential. This is just the nature of life. You have so many influence over MCAs. You have influence over the business community. It's important to work with people like that. You don't have to agree with them 100%. But you need to at least be collegial enough to sit with them. It's a give and take. Sometimes it's a push and pull. I'm willing to accept this, please leave this alone. You know, when you're a CEO for 15 years, I've worked with multiracial, multi-ethnic persons who are different ages, 70-year-old white people, you know, young Asians in their 50s, Africans, African Americans. You have to have emotional intelligence. Being a chief executive, which a governor is, needs a process to manage people. Managing people is the most difficult challenge in doing any aspect of leadership. I think some persons have fallen into this position almost by default and not by design. And they have not been able to manage the affairs of the county from a human management standpoint. Managerial is easy, you know, take care of this, take care of this. The manager of Wajir could even be from Kisumu. That's a managerial task. You can hire a city manager. What you can't hire for, that's very hard to find, is leadership. The ability to engage people at their level and engage with them and appeal to their greater self. And even the most erstwhile rival to get them to agree with you most of the time, to win them over. That's what really good chief executives do at the end of the day. They actually encourage rivalry in a boardroom. That I'm okay for you to disagree with me, but let me try to win you over. I think if someone does that, in Piyasha Walalei Shinkara, and that's my hope. Now, if I'm wrong, then we will find out in due time. If I'm elected, first of all, right? Because we have to win an election.
Yeah.
And then if that happens, شعبي والله بندقي حلي ونيو that can وحن بنكون شيء ويني. And then if I finish my 5 years and I do very well for Wajir, and I lose, or I may not even seek a re-election, because I look at this as a glass as half full and not as half empty. I don't have to be the governor of Wajir County for me to survive. Yes, I have been surviving before this. I will continue to survive before that. There are so many other jobs in the country that would interest me. But first, I want to be given an opportunity to serve, to do a good job for Wajir County. If I do that for 5 years, or that can I want to leave the place better than I found it. So people can say Siad came, Wajir has a better hospital because he came. We now have a permanent running water because he came. We have a permanent sewer system because he came. We have the power problem has been solved. Because of lack of power, because of lack of energy. And it's 10 years of devolution. So if I fix these issues and I leave, I want to have a legacy and people say, we actually had a really good guy who did this. And focus on, sometimes we've had few things that was done well in the first government, but there was a serious lack of prioritization. And it's like me giving you a Gucci belt when you don't have a pant. You give me tamak and you don't have a hospital. You don't have power, you don't have sewer. I mean, really seriously. So some things were just, it's a wrong prioritization. Our people need water and power to survive. You can't have industrialization of even farming if you don't have power. You can't have any factories in Wajir because we don't have power. This is what we should have focused on, right? Tamaking a metropolitan area. You didn't even focus on places like Habaswein where there was when rain comes, Wajir is cut off from the rest of the country. Even the infrastructure like that should have gone to bridges to make sure the roads are passable. Put Maram in the really difficult places in the county, because the issue here is to have significant return on investment. Tabak was nice in the metro, but it didn't really alter lives. That's what people should work on. As a leader, it's about altering the lives of Wajirians. And neither one of the two governments have done that. Right? Neither one of the two governments in a significant manner. Because if the first one had done that, the mistakes of the second one could have been less felt. But the mistakes of the second one very quickly erased the first one's work. Why? Because it was not based on fundamentals. It was not based on serious fundamental change in the county. Serious fundamental change can only be done when you have power, water, sewer, and a functional hospital, and some sort of employment engine in which people are not living on handouts. If I don't do that, I will also be a failure. This is what I want to focus on, inshallah.
Thank you very well. That was more of, we spoke about more of politics-wise. Yes. We get into the development area where most people believe that with your experience as an entrepreneur, any innovations, any ideas. Now, for instance, the county is facing serious challenges, as you have said. So briefly, just very briefly, can you tell us like the four main areas that you're going to prioritize in your government?
You know, I've spoken, I think, just in the last few minutes about the big ones, right? I want to really focus on the big infrastructure issues, because I want a lot of the Somali community, whether you're from Wajir, Garissa or Mandera, we are really good about being very creative. Our people have a survivalist mentality. We are very creative. We start businesses. We know how to survive because we have had lack of government for so many years. We've been an arid area that was almost like a no man's land between Somalia and Kenya. Because of being ethnic Somalis, we've been marginalized. So we have been very survivalist. What has been lacking is giving the people the ability to thrive. What do I mean by that? The reason why I keep going back to this issue of power and sewer and water is when this town is established, just like Garissa. For example, if you look at Garissa, because Garissa benefited quite a bit from the Kanu regime and both Moi and Kibaki governments, prior to devolution, life has been easier in Garissa. Because people did farming, you know, of course there was Tana River, but there was irrigation. They had power way long time ago. The proximity to Nairobi, the tamak between Nairobi and Wajir and Garissa it propelled the community to be self-reliant. Government did not really uplift people in Garissa. It was private sector. It was businesses. Wajir cannot do that now because those basic tools have not been fixed. So I want to focus. I want to focus like a laser beam on power. If I can't get the national grid, I'll do massive solar energy. Massive solar energy, and even wind. If you look at our Boji, it's set up for perfect wind energy farming. We can even sell energy to the national grid if we can actually export because of how much wind energy we can harness in Wajir. I want to bring corporations that can have a public-private venture to harness massive energy and we sell it. Either solar or wind. So energy is one thing. Then water and sewer. The other major issue is education. We're lagging behind because our schools have been dilapidated. We are failing standard 8 students. We're failing at the Form 4 level. We are failing because we have no textbooks. We have no good teachers. Every time there's a crisis with security, we lose teachers. We don't train enough from our county. Education has not been our focus. And now because of political elitism, people are even being discouraged to go to school because the few who have degrees can't get jobs. And our people are nomadic pastoralists. They are saying, "Mahamad school ka geya, shaqo ma baheli kare. Laba graduate ba gurigi joogtay, shaqo bay laayihiin." This is becoming a crisis. If we continue like this, people will stop going to school. Everybody wants to find a way to game the system. Waxaa lagu wada orday entrepreneurship. Qof walba wuxuu leeyahay hebel Form 4 buu ka dhacay. D- buu haystay. 2 bilyan buu haystaa. Maxaan dhakhtarnimo u aadi? It's creating a confidence crisis in our society. Qofka wuxuu dhihi maxaan saajiyon ka noqdaa 20 sano school u akhristaa. Hebel ba D- buu helay. 2 bilyan buu haystaa. Now that's become their mentor. That has become their icon. It's also happening in the whole country, of course. I talked about this. There's a video people can find on YouTube. I was talking to a Kisii group that went viral because I was talking about the erosion of Kenyan ethos, the massive desecration of Kenyan culture. When I grew up, the professor who drove a Volkswagen Beetle was respected. People stood up for them in the streets as a kid because people valued education. Now, if you don't have a Prado or a Range Rover, no one wants to talk to you. This is what has happened to Kenya because that has become, there is such a demonic following of money. It's very dangerous. There is more to life than money. People have to have a character that can be respected. And most times when I grew up, if you are a rich person with bad character, nobody talked to you. People didn't care about your bank account. People said, is Ahmed a good person? Is Ahmed respected? Is Ahmed a good Muslim? Is Ahmed even a good, is Joe a good Christian? Is he a good neighbor? Can this person be trusted? Can I even trust my children with him? This was how people looked at value. Your character was more important when I grew up in Kenya. Now, if you have 10 PhDs and you don't have a Prado, no one wants to talk to you. If you don't come from a fancy house and you're not showing blinging with money, nobody respects you. You could be a da'i who went to Medina for 20 years. People will walk past you in the coffee shops. This is dangerous. So I want to change this, work on retracing back our culture. This job is more than just being someone who writes science checks. We need to get someone who can be a leader for the community, who can be a role model for the youth, and tell people stay in school because your life will be better for it. Stay in school. Think about long-term delayed gratification. Invest in anything for 20 years. It will pay you back. Even those who are getting tenders should be people of character and good quality so that they can invest in their community. So I'm a bit nervous about what's happening with the social ethos in the whole country. But when something like that happens to a small population of 700,000, 800,000 Wajirians, it's more felt than even in Nairobi, right? Nairobi had Sonko, but it survived, right? Because it's a big place, it's a big economy. But there is a desecration of our ethos, and that concerns me a lot. So I want to go back to encouraging people to stay in school. Education is a big issue for me. I want to see young people with iPads and Google tablets doing their homework. It's not a lot of money. You have 10 billion. Why can't you put tablets in classrooms? It's not that hard. It's just that nobody has made it a priority. I want to see kids in Habaswein with iPads or Google tablets. You can get refurbished Google tablets for $70. It's 7,000 shillings. It alters the kid's life. For the first time, they have something in their hands. They can do gaming on it. They can do Khan Academy. You can go on YouTube and take free math classes on Khan Academy. Our people have never heard of this because the ones who are in Nairobi are taking their kids to Brook House. and Braeburn, but they're not worried about the kids in Habaswein. So this is the opportunity Wajirians have. It's for the first time someone who says, I want to look at everyone's child and give everyone's child a chance to have as good education as my child. Right? If we do that, I think I will be rewarded for it beyond just money or beyond a status.
Thank you. Let's come now to the party. You are with Wiper party under the Azimio.
Yes.
And so we know that there's two serious parties. The two serious parties now is the Kenya Kwanza coalition and the Azimio Oka.
Yes.
Azimio la Umoja Oka, I think, coalition.
Yes.
So why did you choose just so that you can survive, or you feel like there's it contains goodies for the people of northeastern Kenya and especially people of Wajir?
Thank you very much for asking that. I've been very close friends with the ODM leader. People I think know this, and I've been friends with Raila for over 15 years, but I've never really been a member of ODM. I've never been a member of a party. I was just friends with the leader of the party because I've been in the diaspora for 20 years. So I had no reason really to be a member of a party. I helped the party get a presidential candidate in 2007, and I did a lot of work for his government from the international relations side of things, and particularly Kenyan-US relations, and helped him significantly. So for me, there are two things that made me end up in Wiper. One is the Azimio Bill. The Azimio Bill has changed the value of party itself. Because as long as you're within Azimio, once you make a decision, first of all, because the big decision is, do you want to be UDA or you want to be in Azimio? That's a really big decision. Because UDA puts you in an opposition perspective. You're trying to at least have a counter narrative to the current government. If you're in Azimio, once you're within Azimio, Oka umbrella, or even Azimio before the Oka agreement, you could belong to any party within Azimio. And there was no real value at whichever one you belong to, because you were seen as part of an umbrella body. You were all supporting Raila Odinga. We all had a common goal to bring Raila Odinga in as president, which I'm very committed to. So then the question became, what party you ran to? If I was in Nyanza, ODM has tremendous currency. In Wajir, our politics are mostly clan or sub-clan based. There was not much value whether you run on Wiper, whether you run on NAC. You could run even on Maendeleo. It really didn't make that much of a difference. Then the next question becomes resources. Historically, ODM hasn't been a party that really invested tremendous resources as opposed to Jubilee in terms of funding candidates at a massive level. It provided a brand name. ODM was sort of a movement, and it provided a brand name. So my decision was based on where can we find resources? What's a place within Azimio that has someone who can be a fighter, for my interests and for our community's interests. Wiper was founded by a Wajirian. The co-founder was Honorable Afay. It has history in Wajir. Farah Maalim is the deputy party leader. We already have, it's not new to us as a Somali community. He has been very inclusive with our people. So it is the only party that actually has a leadership level like that of people who are from our community. So for me, it was a good place where I can also get visibility. And you have to also think, as a brand, as a leader, where do you stand out? Where do you get significant exposure? Those are all the decisions we had to make. Don't look at it as, Will Kenny ba shaqa helayo. You can get a job somewhere else. Will can that noloshooda ayaa mas'uul looga dhigaya. Marka at least aan keeno 30 qof ama gabdhana ha lagu daro. I want to really make sure we vote for women. When we include women, we do better. MCAs, inshallah in the future, even deputy governors, in the future even governors. We have to include our ladies. Our ladies are very educated now, but they're being left out of these decisions. Odayaalan baa loo tegi geed baa la hoos fariisan. waxbaa la soo dhamaysan waxaan gabdhahan dhinacooda hala fiiriyo. At least let's get some representation. The same thing with people with disabilities. Anaga Soomaalida we sometimes nin baa magac loo bixinay just because of a disability. Hebel indhoole, hebel gacame, hebel waxta waxaan ka dhignay dhaqan xun. So I isu turno dadka loo turo. Let's have some members of the assembly with disabilities. Let's have women. Let's just not make this a man's game.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. Now, I think we're about to wrap up. We spoke about so many issues. Finally, in just like not like much, like in 2 minutes, just tell us why the people of Wajir should vote for you as a governor.
MashaAllah. waxaan ka codsan lahaa dadkeena horta.
You say it in English, then
yes,
maybe in Somali.
Thank you very much. So, what I want the people in Wajir to consider is good governance. If you're interested in good governance, if you're interested in a chief executive, if you're interested in a governor who's actually going to think every day and every night about how to manage resources and how to significantly alter the lives of Wajirians, to have long-term development, to have jobs, to have a county that functions very well. I want to change the conversation from people are using torches and kerosene lamps at our hospital and buying a generator in the 10th year of a devolution government. That is a fail conversation. That's a failed narrative. We should have had massive solar energy by the 3rd year of a devolution government. There was enough money. 10 billion is an insane amount of money. 9 billion is $90,000. This is an insane amount of money for a population of less than 1 million. We have ghost workers and no power. I mean, this is some serious lack of prioritization. So if you're interested, if you're a Wajirian and you're interested in life getting better, if you want someone who is willing to be held accountable, who can be available, who will meet with the youth. Since I joined politics, you can just go to YouTube and see. I'm the only one who has really engaged the youth at a serious level. I'm the only one who has really engaged women at a serious level. If you want someone like that, vote for me. If you want more of the same, if you want this decay, I'm not your guy. If you want just to focus on clan, I'm probably not your guy. If you're interested only in winning a tender, if you're just interested in only filling your pockets, if you're interested only in having access to me and blocking everyone else, I'm probably not your guy. But if you want Wajir to get better, then I'm the candidate you should invest in, not even just voting for me, but door knocking for me, getting to your sub-clan votes and telling all your elders, telling your opinion shapers in every constituency. I want every Wajirian, especially anyone under the age of 50, to make it their business to help me in August, especially in July. If you're a Wajirian anywhere in Kenya and even abroad, and you can take time off from July 15th to August 9th, I beg you, please come back and help me, because I need help. It's very expensive to win an election. It's probably the most expensive election per capita. People are saying they spent 300 million, 200 million for 50,000 votes in 2017. And probably the same in 2013. This is insane.
Thank you, Dr. Syed. I think we are now coming to the end of this interview. That was Dr. Syed Abdullahi, who is a gubernatorial aspirant under the Wiper ticket for the Wajir County's 2022 general elections. He is being based in US, but for 20 years, but the last 3 years, last 3-4 years, he's been in Kenya and in Wajir. This time round, he's setting his eyes on the Glory, that is the biggest seat in the county, full of ideas. Now it's just the people of Wajir who will decide come the 9th of August 2022. Thank you so much. That was a great interview. We asked you so many questions. You gave a lot of ideas. Hopefully the people of Wajir will translate that into votes for you.
Inshallah.
Thank you once more.
Jazakallah khair. Shukran Ahmed. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Jum'a Mubarak.
Jum'a Mubarak.